Hello, everyone. It's been a while. Yeah, it's been a really long while since I've made a video. I've been not great, but it's been better. I've been better. I'm in a better spot both physically and mentally since you've last seen me. I left off doing Final Fantasy content, so it's actually kind of funny and fitting that I returned and make, or at least I returned with a Final Fantasy video. So, I had very recently gone through Dawntrail, and I will be discussing spoilers. So basically, do not click on this video if you're not done with the story of Dawntrail. I just had some thing to talk about essentially, because in terms of how I feel about Dawntrail, I feel like it was a pretty fine expansion. I actually kind of liked the story, or at least I forgave the story a lot this expansion because everyone knows it's the summer vacation of the of the story. It's just the thing that I can say I did not like too much this expansion was the handling of the characters Zerulja and Gululja? Bakulja. There you go. So many names. Okay, so the characters of Zerulja and Bakuljaja. So I think, and also a little bit of Wooklamat. So I think the handling of the Dawn servants was going to forever be a little disjointed, I guess would be the word for it. When they first show you that there's going to be 4 Dawn servants in the story, and they kind of give you hints that they're going to be basically more or less following the story of all 4 Dawn servants, I kind of had a sinking suspicion that we weren't going to get all of them fleshed out equally, which is mostly fine. If not every character needs to be fleshed out. Some characters can just be very one-dimensional, and as long as they serve the story, that's fine. They can continue being one-dimensional, and that would be great. But with the 4 Dawn servants, that being Wooklamat, Kona, Bakul, Jaja, and Zerulja, they kind of tried having each of them have something to do a little bit, and it's a little awkward at times. I've been seeing people's kind of complaints with the expansion so far, and I see that it's kind of a little bit widespread that the way people feel about the characters is a little not great. And I think I have some ways that the story could have improved itself in that regard. Or rather, let's start by pointing out the spots where I think personally the story actually failed, and where I think the story could have improved in those moments where it kind of flopped a little bit. So let's dissect the 3 Dawn servants that I just mentioned before one by one, because I think in terms of the way they had Kona set up and played during the Dawntrail story, I think his character is probably utilized the best, and also like the most sounds for the story essentially, because Kona's whole story, it's just that he wants to improve the trade for all his people, and he's gone abroad and he sees that life has kind of improved a lot with the technologies from abroad, so he wants to bring those foreign technologies back home, and he wants to improve people's lives. And him as a character, he's on Wooklamat's side. He's seen as an ally, and only somewhat antagonistic. I think only really antagonistic in like one of the settings, which is the first dungeon, and even then it wasn't really him. It was more Thancred kind of being a little bit of a troll, a little bit of a competitive troll to us, so to speak. So like I don't think there was ever really a time where Kona had to straight up basically be an opposing force to Wooklamat and your party. So he gets to be kind of left alone, and he also is fleshed out pretty well, so you don't really feel any pains with that character. Wook Lamont, I feel they tried to basically make her the underdog, but didn't trust in the story's ability to show you that she's the underdog. Instead, they had the story show you she's an underdog, and also have you remind you on multiple occasions that she is in fact an underdog. And that can be a little tiring to hear, especially since you get a good couple of scenes where Wook Lamont basically kind of talks to you about what she sees for her people and what she feels for her people, and that she really, really is about the peace for her people. She has her father's love for peace, and that's something that she herself will tell you throughout the story. But then, awkwardly enough, in almost like the same breath that she tells you she has her father's love for peace, or that she has her love for peace, and not just you, also she'll tell anyone within earshot that she has a love for peace. But in that same regard, she will have moments where she'll see her brothers excel at things, and then basically kind of second guess herself and doubt herself, and she's just like, man, what do I have to offer? And it's just, you already established what you have to offer. You have your father's love for peace. Like, that's your thing. Your brother Kona wants to be the trades guide to improve everything technologically based. Bakul Jaja just wants to be the guy because he's blessed and he feels like he earns it. And Zerulja wants to be the guy that shows people through tough love and war that peace is dangerous. And that war is also dangerous, which is a very I'll get into Zerulja's motives later, because it's a little goofy. I will say it's a little goofy for sure. It's a little goofy. So, are you kidding me? 911, 911, 991. Screw it. I will just take it as is. So Wook Lamont kind of basically has her character and forgets her character in the same breath. And it's not that a character who second guesses himself is bad per se. It's more along the lines of a character who kind of beats themselves up a little often. For some people can be a kind of tiring. It is a little tiring to deal with, and if you're not the type of person to be empathetic or like a little compassionate, it can kind of be really tiring, especially since, like, think about where we just came from, Endwalker. Like, for some people, dealing with Wook Lamont in this rite of succession is actually a nice breath of fresh air, because we're not killing world-ending gods or calamities, and we're not saving the world once again. But for other people to come down from the high of basically the Endsinger and Xenos and all that, to kind of basically, it can feel like we're playing babysitter essentially with Wook Lamont and her woe is me, I'm not good enough ways. And for some people, like, dealing with that kind of person can be a little, I don't know, it can ruin the flavor a little bit. I just realized I didn't eat my food. I'm so bad. So yeah, it can ruin the flavor of the character a little bit, because then they feel like they're dealing with a crybaby, and they're just like, oh, do you know what I've been through? I'm a freaking hardened veteran, and I'm dealing with a child. And I think Wook Lamont actually is probably young, but she's not that young. She is very cognizant of the fact that she has her father's love for peace, and that's what she loves, and that she loves her people. She definitely has a love for her people. And those two things are very valid enough to be things that she can hold on to, that will separate herself from her brothers. Because I think only Kona basically expresses his love for his people. Zerulja kind of like tsundere expresses his care for his people. You can't see it, but I'm putting quotations in the air. And Bakul Jaja just talks about himself. And so for Wook Lamont, I feel like they just wanted you to really keep in mind that she is supposed to be the underdog here, and it's just a little not done well. And then there's other moments where they try to basically ham in the fact that she's an underdog. Like, for example, when Bakul Jaja messes with her, she basically... And actually, let me not get ahead of myself. So, when Bakul Jaja messes with her, she basically gets put into, like, the little sibling role of, like, oh, I'm getting... I'm essentially getting hammed on by an older sibling who's better than me, and man, they're better than me, but I'll defend myself a bit, but man, like, you know, some of the things they say is getting to me a little bit because they are a little bit right. And I feel like despite shit talking her, I don't think I remember any of these siblings genuinely doing something better than she could. Because throughout the story, you don't ever really fail all right. If anything, you find alternate ways to figure it out. And she definitely needs help at some of the rights to figure it out. But she does show that she's kind of capable of taking charge and, you know, really connecting with her people. You see it with the Pelus, and you see it with the Hantus. Like, she genuinely got into trading and learned how to trade with the Pelus, and then she revived the freaking parade thing with the Hantus. Like, that's something that was super extracurricular. No one else wanted to do that, or needed to do that. And the other people kind of acknowledged, like the other brothers kind of acknowledged that, you know, it was pretty cool of her to do that, and that she's kind of ahead. And it's just kind of strange that we have moments where characters will acknowledge her strengths, and it feels like she can acknowledge her own strength until she no longer acknowledges her own strength. And then it's just kind of like, why do you not acknowledge your own strength? Like, why are you comparing yourself to your brothers? You were able to completely figure it out. Like, there was no right that she straight up failed. Like, was there? I genuinely don't think there was a right she straight up failed, because with the Hantu, she figured it out with the parade. With the Pelu, she figured it out with the trading. With the Moblins, you guys got the vase. You got someone. You got the shopkeeper to do the vase. With the Mamulja, that was... I mean, you guys won. That whole arc was a little finicky. Because she technically failed that one, but that's only because the freaking test examiner was being a little bit of an ass. But she didn't really, like, fail it, you know. Like, everyone knows that she passed it. Like, no one's gonna question whether or not she actually passed it. She passed it. The guy was just being a little, like, butthurt about it. It's whatever, right? So, like, you know she's capable, and she's just kind of... She lacks confidence. That's her character. She's just a character who lacks confidence. And I see a lot of people kind of talking about the voice acting, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I played the game in English. There were scenes that the voice acting was a little rough, and I think that also kind of creates problems in those scenes where she's trying to be like somber or sad or second guessing herself. I think that the results that we got was just the voice actress not being comfortable with the character of Wook Lamont just yet. Because, I mean, the Scions all sound as great as they do in the English dub because they had a lot of time to basically solidify that shit and know their characters and learn how to basically talk as their characters. Like, you'll hear Alphino and Alize in their in an interview they did with I believe his name was Quasi on YouTube. They basically talked about how, like, they got to a point now in their lines where they'll, like, inject lines that they think their character will say, and it ends up working because, you know, they know their characters to the point where they can basically assume what their character might say or how their character might react in the moment. And I feel like the voice actress for Wook Lamont does the parts where she needs to be cheery or high energy fantastically. I think she did that great. I think it's the moments where she needs to be sad or somber that it doesn't come off quite well. But, I mean, just in general, acting like sad or crying in voice acting kind of, the actors kind of hit it or they don't. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of a little rough to act it, so it is tough. So I'm not gonna just say it's like a skill issue or anything like that. It's just I think if we get 2 more expansions of Wook-Lamont by end of expansion 2, hell, maybe even middle of expansion 2, into definitely by 3, that voice actress is gonna be nailing that character and everyone's gonna be loving them. I feel. And then, especially since now that we're done with the Right of Succession, we no longer have to worry about the second guessing themselves. Wook-Lamont has her confidence, so I genuinely believe with more time, if we get more Wook-Lamont in the future, the complaints about the voice actress is gonna completely go away. Not maybe completely go away, but it's going to improve for sure. So that's how I feel about Wook-Lamont. There isn't too much to say about Wook-Lamont's character. I just think the crust of it is basically a bit of a crybaby, but nothing that's character damaging. I think she was fine. Out of the 3 characters I'm going to discuss today, I feel like in terms of what they did with her story, her potential was squandered the absolute least. So the next 2, however, Bakul Jaja and Zerulja. My problem with those 2 characters, and I'm gonna get a little passionate about this because I really like those 2 characters, and I feel like they could have done so much more. Zerulja's motivations feel like they change every time we see him, and he gets a speaking role, and that's because he spends a lot of his time either off screen or not saying anything. His assistant talks more than he does. And so when eventually we get talks from him, and then we hear basically like a little update on how he's doing, it could come off as a little like, wait, huh? Like, for example, now feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. This is just from me going off of memory. I did finish Dawntrail like about around 2 weeks ago, and I spent time basically discussing this with friends and kind of revisiting the story a bit. So the story is still pretty fresh in my mind, but I may get some details wrong. So please, if I get anything wrong, do feel free to correct me in the comments. Or even if you don't agree with anything that I'm saying completely, this is my opinion, and I would actually like to hear what you think and what you would have changed, or if you think that anything should have changed in general. But with Zerulja's character, the first time you see him, it's, I want to better my people's lives by showing them that peace can be dangerous and that war is bad, and that they need to learn through war how bad life can get, right? Now, at most, that is a slippery slope way of thinking, and maybe a little toxic. But at least there's like some kind of devotion for his people there. Like, you know, like there's something brewing in his mind about how he wants to better his people's lives. Then you see it. You see him kind of go off in silence, and you actually something else I want to point out in the beginning that I feel like I'm gonna bring up again later, because I feel like it's going to basically play into a way that their characters could have been done better. But with early on in the story, you also get Bakul Jaja bring up the fact that Zerulja is a one-headed Mamulja. He is not a blessed sibling. And what I actually thought the story was going to do was basically kind of really ham in to the idea that Zerulja is not a blessed sibling, and so people discount him. I thought we were going to be running into people basically being like, what? Zerulja? Fuck that guy. What? He's not Bakul Jaja. He doesn't have the 2 heads. We want the 2 heads because we want someone who's as close as Galul Jaja as possible. And we want to go with the son that does have the 2 heads, just like his father. Because, you know, closest to his father. He has the 2 heads. He's a blessed sibling. Zerulja is just a 1 head. I mean, he may be direct son, but again, he's just a 1 head. So why should we care, right? But in the beginning of the story is when they bring that up. And then after that, it is only really brought up by Bakul Jaja. no one else ever basically gets in Zerulja's face about being a one-headed Mamulja. I think maybe he brings it up at one point, but I don't even think he really does. It's only ever really Bakul Jaja who brings it up. And then maybe Wuklamad if she's talking about maybe something that's like emotionally that's going on with Zerulja. So they just kind of dropped that and then brought it. And then they have some people in the crowd during the coronation basically say, "Oh, that's Zerulja. You know, he's very stoic. He's really good as a fighter. I'm rooting for him." And then you have some people being like, "Oh, Bakul Jaja, he's a two-headed Mamulja. He's a blessed sibling. I'm gonna root for him as well." So in the beginning, when they introduce all the Dawn servants, they show people on everyone's side. No one really has the testers. I think only really Wuklamad kind of has, and she doesn't really have the testers actually. She just kind of has like fewer people rooting for her than everyone else, and that's fine because again, the story wants to show you that she's an underdog. And actually, something I forgot that I kind of want to bring up is I feel like a better way to go about the Wuklamad being an underdog storyline is by basically having her whenever she's being outclassed by her brothers, right? Like let's give the story the benefit of the doubt that she is in fact being outclassed by her brothers the way she feels like she is. Have basically moments where she looks at them, has basically an eternal kind of conflict that you can visibly see on her face, but then she collects herself, breathes in, and then locks in, right? So imagine that basically interaction where instead of seeing her complain about, not complain, but basically, kind of beat herself up about being the black sheep of the family, we just see her basically kind of like, you know what, nah, I'm not gonna let this stop me. I'm gonna really apply myself. I'm gonna lock in. And then when she wins in the end, it feels like that much more better because it's just like, hell yeah, dude, we fucking showed them. We fucking pulled through. Hell yeah, dude. Like, I don't know. I just feel like that'd be kind of, it'd be kind of hype, just watching like Wuklamad become basically Dawn servant, and you're just sitting there knowing satisfied. Is like, yeah, man, she fucking earned it. She came into her own. Not to say she didn't earn it this time. It's just, actually, do I really feel like she earned it? I'm not gonna lie to you, big dog. She really did kind of get Dawn servants a little bit by default. Like she had the keys. She was definitely getting the keys, but by the end, it feels like she kind of actually ended up winning by default a little bit. You know what I mean? Because like Kona basically said, yeah, no, you got it. I'm just gonna let you get it. Bakul Jaja got kicked out because he couldn't beat the father, and Zerulja also couldn't beat the father, so he kind of lost. So like, yeah, she basically was the last one who made it. And I guess like that's kind of like, I mean, that's not, I guess that's not really winning by default. That is like her showing her merit and that she wins because she's the only one who was able to get it through. So I guess it's not really winning by default. I don't know why he feels like she won by default. Huh. I'm gonna have to think about that later. Why actually does it feel like she won by default? So basically, to go back to Zerulja, the next time we see Zerulja after some time, he's basically being, so we have the meeting with Zerulja in the beginning where he's talking about the war and wanting to better his people's lives by showing them that war can be bad. And then we have the Zerulja who is basically being clowned on by Bakul Jaja for being a one-head. And that could be a possible motive. And then the next time we see him, he's just basically like, nah, man. Seriously, like, war, like fuck this peace. Peace is so damaging. You guys don't understand. You guys need to fucking suffer to understand that peace is damaging. You guys get complacent. It's bad. And it's just, okay, damn, getting a little bit more toxic. And then once he loses to his dad, he said, fuck it, I'm murdering everyone in the fucking village because I lost, and I just need to do war. Which is like, what the fuck? Huh? Whoa. Huh? And then because we don't really spend time to pick his brain too much, it kind of comes off as a little like, whoa, what the fuck? And then even Galulja fighting Zarulja said like, how have you strayed so far, my son? And then you can't help as the viewer to think, yeah, good question. How have you strayed so far, my man? Like, you've just been ruminating in this shit? Like, what the fuck? Like, where did this all come from? And then you beat his ass, and then he's just like, oh man, my dad, if I didn't win the succession, what would have my dad left me? He left me nothing. Oh, woe is me. My dad left me nothing. Nothing to my name. Buddy, yeah, that's the competition. No one was gonna get anything if they fucking sucked. But you know what's the difference? If you aren't an asshole, the people who win will reach out to you and give you some shit. Dude, let me tell you something. Bukul Jaja unleashed a fucking primal that was continent ending. Not world ending, but continent ending. Risking murdering so many fucking people. And he is still accepted in by the people. He did not face any repercussions for it. Oh, what repercussions did he face? You beat his ass. That's the only thing he faced. You just beat his ass. He almost caused your entire goddamn country to wipe from a fucking primal because he wanted to slow you down. And all he gets is his butt spanked, and then he gets admitted as a fucking captain to the guard to the Golden City. If that motherfucker Bukul Jaja can get the fucking captain role after what he's done, Zarulja, buddy, you could have gotten something really nice. You just had to not murder your fucking people. And then basically do the whole fucking Sphene arc. Like, what is all this? Like, I don't know. I just feel like Zarulja was treated as a plot device to be a means to an end, to lead to Sphene, so that we can have our planet-ending threat. Because, you know, the stakes always have to go high in these expansions, even if it's a summer vacation. Which is like, whatever. And I feel like for Zarulja's character, they could have fixed his arc if they made it so that his problem was just that he wasn't a blessed sibling. If they made it so that Zarulja wasn't just getting flack from Bukul Jaja, but just also like the people of fucking like Tuliolol. Like if the Turali were literally like, yo, fucking look at this fucking one head. Fuck him, he's a goddamn one head. Excuse me. Like, fuck this goddamn one-head guy. I don't give a fuck about what he's planning to do for us. He's a fucking one-head. I want the two-head guy, because I want someone like freaking Galul Jaja to reign supreme. I don't want this fucking one-head. And then, like, everyone basically kept reminding him, it's just like, dude, why are you even in this competition? You're a fucking one-head, man. Like, if people were basically beating his ass down, and then Bukul Jaja was also beating his ass down for being a one-head, and then at the end, you can make his character basically being like, you know what? I'm raising this city, not because I'm sad that my dad didn't leave me anything, but because I'm sad that I wasn't a blessed sibling and that I was basically treated like dumpster fire for being a blessed sibling. Because his life before the Rite of Succession sounded like it was fine. Like this man was basically, wasn't he also captain of a guard? He was captain of a guard. He was really fucking, he had really good, like, physical strength. He was a really good fighter. Everyone basically said, yo, this guy's a good fighter. And then you see him beat the fuck out of Bukul Jaja, too. So you know he's a good fighter. And then you just, you don't do anything with that? Like, or rather, like, you just it kind of, yeah, like, what was actually your struggle? Like, it just kind of feels like he's just, like, wanted to kill people. And if that's what his character boils down to, I guess that's fine, but then, like, don't, like, muddle it with all this extra plot points, because then it just kind of makes his character feel disjointed and inconsistent. Because then, by the time you kill him, you kind of basically, you don't even really care about what he has to say. You just kind of want him out of the way. Like, that entire last scene where he's talking to his son about wanting to leave him a legacy, I was just like, dude, shut the fuck up. You did not want to leave him a legacy. You were literally murdering every fucking one of his, like, relatives, essentially, in, like, the hometown because you weren't going to be left anything to give to your son. And, like, what? You are incapable of leaving something for your son on your own? Really? Weren't you really fucking strong? Weren't you basically, like, accomplished even despite the fact that you're a one-head? Really? You don't think that you're capable of, like, creating or things for your son to inherit? Or you really think your father, even if without, like, beating the right of succession, would have just let you to fucking rot? There was never a scene where Galul Jaja came off as someone who would neglect his children. Ever. Like, maybe technically he neglected Zorulja because, you know, by the end he's just like, oh, how have you fallen so much? Like, I guess you can kind of argue that that's basically him showing that he kind of neglected his son a bit because he couldn't keep tabs on why his son got so fucked up. But I don't know. I don't know if I count that. Because that's a little too, like, weak. I don't know. I just feel like Zorulja needed a better reason to kill the town. Other than the fact that he was mad that he wasn't getting anything. And I genuinely feel like it should have been the Blessed Siblings thing. I don't think 14 is above tackling racism in the story. Because that was, like, the whole, like, the racism comes up a lot. It comes up with the tribal quests, or the beast tribes, whatever you want to call them now, allied societies. And it comes up with the Alamegans a lot during A Realm Reborn, and even in Stormblood. So it's not like they're, like, trying to avoid doing racist topics. They can do racism. Like, just let it sit in. And then because you're hamming on the Blessed Siblings, you can this is how I transitioned to Bakul Jaja. Bakul Jaja is an Eric Cartman that they tried to give a deep backstory to, and it doesn't work. You don't give Eric Cartman the deep backstory, because you know what happens when you give Eric Cartman a serious backstory? It either A, becomes a tonal, like, whiplash, because it's just like, wait, what the fuck? Like, dude, I don't care. Like, holy shit, dude. Like, I know that sucks, but what the fuck? After everything you've done? Like, you kind of deserve it. Like, yeah. Or B, like, yeah, you feel like they just fucking deserve it. Like, yeah, fuck you. I'm glad that happened to you. Like, the whole thing with, well, I guess also South Park spoilers. The only serious story I can ever think of, like, tragic story that they ever give to Eric Cartman, was that with the whole Scott Tenorman thing, where he's just like, oh, you know, he Scott fucked with him, so he made Scott basically get his own parents killed, and he fed him. He got him grounded he grounded his parents into Chile and fed it to Scott. Well, that was pretty fucked up, right? Well, then later on they confirmed that Scott's dad was also Cartman's dad, and that was basically the really tragic backstory for Cartman. Is that, holy shit, man, he killed his dad by accident. But no one ever fucking cares or feels bad for Cartman because, yeah, Cartman, don't get people's parents killed and then make them, you know, eat their own parents. Like, that bad thing happening to Cartman was brought upon completely by his own doing, so you don't really feel bad about it happening. And so when we get to the end with Bakul Jaja, where he's just like, oh, you know, the reason why I care so much about winning is because this blessed sibling crap. And I like, you know, my race of people have sacrificed so much, and I just want it to stop. And it's just, it comes out of nowhere. It really does feel like it comes out of nowhere. Like, there's nowhere throughout the story you get a hint that there's something deeper happening with the Mamulja. The something deeper, quote unquote, that's happening with the Mamulja is that they still, to this very day, really fucking hate the cat people. They really fucking hate Hrothgars. That's the only like really deep thing we get with the Mamuljas, is that they really do not fucking like the Hrothgars. And they play peace, but they don't really like it. And during Bakul Jaja's story, you get him basically being really fucking arrogant, and he's really full of himself. So his characterization is that he's arrogant and that he's full of himself. And that because he's a two-head like his dad, he's gonna basically be a shoo-in. And you hear some people in the beginning basically talk about, hey, you know, he's a two-head, so it's great. It's great that he's a two-head, and so, you know, he kind of feels like hot shit. But then after that, only Bakul Jaja brings up the fact that he's a two-head. No one else really cares after that. If anything, the people of Turali or Tuliolo basically kind of actively don't take Bakul Jaja seriously because he's being a cocky fuckhead. And so it kind of doesn't really work, especially if you're trying to make him the bully character, because the only real successful bullying thing he does is steal the crap away from Wiklamat. Because I don't even count the plot point with kidnapping Wiklamat's father, because literally that plot point was brought up and established in that arc and resolved in that same arc, and she literally never looks back about her dad ever again. She just says, oh, you know, the Galul Jaja is my dad, and it's basically like her way of acknowledging that that he's her dad, but he wants to keep out of it because he wants her to have a nice life. So she's gonna honor that and keep him out of it. And then it's just left. That's it. And it's just okay. I'm glad we brought up this plot point of her discovering who her dad is, just to basically be like, yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter anyway, because we're just gonna basically let him have his privacy. But it's more of like a, hey, by the way, like, yeah, it feels more like a fun fact. Hey, fun fact, that's her dad. That's it. That's basically how that moment feels. And it's just you know what I mean? Like, I feel like Bakul Jaja needed moments where in the moments where he was being a piece of absolute human garbage piece of shit, we basically have him discuss with the head of wisdom, basically discussing like, hey man, like, we got this plan on fucking with Wiklamat has to pass, not because I'm a blessed sibling and I'm hot shit, but because I'm a blessed sibling and it means so much that I'm a blessed sibling. So much is riding on this. I cannot fail. I am a blessed sibling. Like, if we basically kind of have him essentially be like, oh man, like, you know, like, basically keep bringing up the blessed sibling thing, but then give us hints that it's basically very vain, you know? Like, he's fronting it, but you know he doesn't really feel it. You know what I mean? Like, it rings hollow every time he brings it up. Like, if they kind of like leaned more into that, I feel like that would be really interesting for his character. Like, they basically have him be like, you know, yeah, I'm a blessed sibling. You know, like I'm great. Like, I'm great. I'm for sure. I'm great. I'm 100% great. And it's just like, he doesn't think he's great. There's something there. Like, is he actually? Does he think he's really hot shit because he's a blessed sibling? Or is it just something deeper there? But no, like, basically every time he talks about the fact that he's hot shit, you genuinely believe that he thinks he's hot shit. Because he's like, yeah, I'm a blessed sibling. Like, why should I fail? Like, fuck that shit. And it's like it's like in the way that Bakugo kind of feels like he's better than Midoriya. But the reason why I feel like Bakugo's arc of that kind of character works better is because when we have the moment where Bakugo realizes that Midoriya is not some little shit, he feels fucking slighted because he genuinely realizes that all the shit that people have been telling him growing up in his life has been a lie, and that now he feels like he's being looked down upon. And it comes really early. You can tell, like, as soon as he hits UA, no one takes him fucking seriously. Everyone shits on him. And at that point, him being the best is like, it starts off being a little bit as a like a thing of like he's telling himself that more as much as he's telling everyone else that, and then eventually becomes like, you know, it's like it becomes a promise later. And I feel like they should have done that with Bakul Jaja. Like they should have had him basically say, you know, I am a blessed sibling. Things must work because so much is riding on this. And we don't really get that from him. We just kind of get, I'm a blessed sibling, so it must work because I'm a blessed sibling. And then like he fucking goes through the rite of succession, and then like he just like he doesn't really care about what's happening. Like he fails the things because he thinks it's stupid and it's beneath him. And it's basically like, I don't want to fucking do this. This is so stupid. Like, I'm a blessed sibling. Just give me the trophy already. Like, when you have the character do that and enact that while basically proudly boasting that he's a blessed sibling, it comes off very much so that this character just genuinely thinks he's hot shit, and it does not go deeper than that. He just thinks he's hot shit. He thinks everything, like this whole rite of succession is stupid because, like, what is it to prove? He's a blessed sibling. Like, there's no actual thing behind that. And, like, you can argue that the reason why he thinks that is because everyone in his tribe basically blew the hot smoke up his ass and made him feel that way. But then, like, that's fine. If you wanted to go the route that everyone in this tribe is blowing the smoke up his ass and basically making him feel like he's great, just like what they did with Bakugo, where everyone in Bakugo's life growing up told him that he was great. That's fine. Do that with his character. But then don't do the bit where he kind of breaks down because, oh, it takes baby sacrifices to make a blessed sibling, and I want it to end. Like, I just want this to end. I don't want to, like, I'm doing this all, and I was all for nothing. All these babies died for, like, don't do that. Just basically have him get his ass beat and humbled, and he's just like, fuck, man, like, I thought I was hot shit. I got my ass beat, whatever. And then it could be a simple character who thought they were hot shit, and they got their ass beat, and then we get our satisfaction because it's Dawntrail. It's the expansion on things not being as serious as it needs to be. You know, it's a summer vacation, so why not just fucking beat up a summer jock? Why not just beat up a beach hunk? You know what I'm saying? Like, just kick his ass a little bit. So I feel like if they brought up the blessed sibling thing and then have him basically lean more into it about being a blessed sibling, and then have other people around him also kind of like along the way being like, hey, by the way, don't fuck this up, you're a blessed sibling. Like, and the plot point about the fact that only the Mamulja elders knowing about the sacrifices, I feel like that was a misstep. I think if all people knew what it took to make a blessed sibling, and everyone basically I don't know why I popped that, and everyone in the Mamuljas basically had this unspoken understanding that no one was gonna speak to it to outsiders, and that's why they're also very like, they could also like lean that into like the fact that because they already don't like outsiders, so like, you know, it's so easy to lean that in, like, you know, no one likes outsiders, like we don't want outsiders here because we don't want them like possibly catching wind about what's going on with the babies, like how the blessed siblings are made. We don't want anyone snooping around because it's just a tribe secret, like, you know, everyone in the tribe knows about it. We don't tell people outside, and so like we just keep it in, and it's like no outsiders. And then you can have them hating on the cats basically be like a product of that, where it's just kind of like, you know, they hate the fucking cats because the cats don't have to do the blessed sibling thing, right? Maybe like in their eyes they're like, oh, the cats have their lives so well that they do not need to rely on such heinous actions to basically live a good life. Our tribe is living in darkness, we're doing such darkness acts, and like we're all so freaking dark and brooding and angry because of what so much is at stake, and how much our people sacrifice to basically have the blessed siblings, and like how many babies get fucked on to basically have these blessed siblings. And then have Bakul Jaja basically second guessing himself because he's a blessed sibling and he's not able to do it, and he's just like, well, fuck, man, like we sacrifice so much, and like everyone told me that it's gonna be great, and I should be able to do this because I'm a blessed sibling. Like, why can't I do this? Like, have moments where he's doing that to himself. Like, why can't I do this? Like, why can't I be as good as her? Like, it's great. And then like instead of like moments where she's just like, oh, like fucking she did it better than me. Oh, like I guess the fucking house cat is good after all. Yeah. Fucking she got lucky. Like, don't do that. Like, have it moments where she's like, he's genuinely like, you know, like breaking down to himself, where he's just like, fuck, man, like how is she figuring it out? Like, why can't I figure it out? Because like like I'm the blessed sibling. Like everyone told me, it's like everything that they sacrificed for this. Like I'm the greatest. So many people have died for this. Like I need to be able to figure this out because it's within the blessed sibling lineage to be able to figure this out. I need to figure this out. Give us scenes like that from him, and then have moments where he's interacting with Zorulja where he's just like yeah, no, like I need to figure this out because I'm great. I'm the blessed sibling. You're a one-hit. Like you cannot be as good as I am because you didn't have to sacrifice anything. Like what? You get to basically have greatness and no one had to sacrifice themselves for you? No one had to basically have such a dark fucking like past for you? No one had to suffer so much just for you to have your life? Like fuck you, Zorulja. Fuck you for being a one-head and basically living like no. Fuck you. I refuse to believe that you get to have a good life or even a remotely okay life because you for not being a blessed sibling. Like imagine that kind of take from Bakul Jaja. Wouldn't that be so much more interesting to digest from him? Like personally, I just feel like that would be so much more to talk about with that character if that's what they did. I feel like they tried to do the emotional angle with Bakul Jaja and then later with Zorulja without wanting to put in the effort or taking the time to build up the characters to pay off that emotional ending. They just kind of cashed in at $2 instead of waiting for the thing to ramp up to fucking 500. Like, I don't know. I feel like in that regard, the 3 Dawn servants can get squandered, and then you the fucking basically the whole Bakul Jaja with the blessed siblings, and everyone's like, yeah, blessed siblings. We want blessed siblings because we want someone like Galul Jaja in office. We want that shit. And then people being that way will also influence Zorulja to be like, fuck, man, like I gotta do this. Like I gotta play from behind because everyone wants my father. I am not my father because I wasn't born a one-head. I gotta do this. And then Wuklamat, it's like, damn, I am behind both the brothers. One who's a blessed sibling just like dad, and one is a Mamulja just like dad. Like, I gotta really fucking lock in. Like, I really gotta figure this out. Like, I feel like if they really trusted the story more on the blessed siblings and used more show don't tell, they could have had all 3 of their arcs hit so much harder. I genuinely think it could have hit so much harder. And it could have been so much more fulfilling to go through these like arcs with them if that was the case. That's just how I personally feel. And again, like I think because Kona's story is more really wrapped around Wuklamat's story, and he's only really interacting with the other 2 brothers if he's 1 giving information on them or 2 basically like within your company or Wuklamat's company who's also interacting or talking about them. So like he's kind of like excused from that. He doesn't really need to, like his story doesn't need to be impacted from the brother's story. And then if you wanted to basically have his story be impacted by his brother's story, sure. I mean, you could do that if you want. I don't think it's necessary for Kona's story because I personally, again, like I think Kona's story is actually the most not complete. I guess complete is a word. His is the most like well bookended. Like his story started and ended, and I am the most satisfied with the way his arc went. And I don't think there's anything really that they squandered with that character. But if you personally think that something could have been done more with Kona's character or differently with Kona's character, I actually really would like to hear how you feel about that. And I would actually really like to hear your opinions on the blessed siblings and how that was handled. The revelation about the babies, basically Zorulja's wants for legacy. Like, I want to hear all your opinions on these matters because this is just how I feel basically looking back on the expansion and how I feel about these characters. Because again, I really like Bakulja's character concept. I really like Zorulja's character concept. I was really sad by the 3rd and 4th quarters of the expansion seeing the way that they went, unfortunately. But I think their characters were really nice. And I think the voice actors for both of them are really good, by the way. Really good job. Holy crap. Zorulja, Bakul Jaja, and Galul Jaja. The Mamulja's voice actors are stacked. Fucking love it. At least in English, anyway. But, I'm going to leave that there. I just wanted to basically kind of hop on, do a little talky talks, and kind of word vomit a little bit how I feel about the expansion. Not as a whole. There are different things about the expansion I feel like could be talked about, but I don't think I'm ready to talk about them, only because I need to consider them more. Like, I definitely have things to say about this Fiend arc and just Fiend in general, because that's another character I feel like didn't really do too well. But I think I'm gonna leave that for like possibly another video if I'm more prepared for a video like that. But all right, well, I think it's actually a pretty funny time because I just ran out of inventory space. Oh, that is so fucking disgusting. I have to organize that. Well, anyways, guys, thanks for hopping in and listening to my takes. Let me know what you think in the comments about how about my thoughts on the expansion, and I want to hear your thoughts of the expansion. I want to know what you would have changed, what you wouldn't have changed, what you think excelled, what you think failed. I genuinely want to hear it because I think these types of discussions have been so freaking interesting. I've been getting a lot into basically podcast / video essays where people have been breaking down stories and characters. Like been getting into a lot of TB Skyen. I'm not sure if any of you guys have been, know about him, but I've been watching him kind of dissect different series and talking about like different characters, and it's got me thinking about characters and a little bit of like Alicia X life / death if you also watch her. But yeah, like just thinking about characters, man. Solution 9, by the way, music-wise, mwah, beautiful. I love that the crafter's music is essentially a lo-fi. Really good. Genuinely, thank you. But anyways, I'm gonna leave the video there. I'm planning to make a return very soon. As you can see, I even kind of spruced up my avatar a little bit, get myself some glasses, redid all little things about my character. And I'm gonna come back. I will be coming back with Final Fantasy 1, as well as some other games, and maybe just other things. Maybe some other videos of me talking about Final Fantasy 14 story and other things that I feel like I would have changed or just feel passionate about talking about. Anyways, thanks for popping in, guys. I will see you in the next video. Bye!